Actually didn't do too bad.
I'm gonna do it.
God damn it! I've always loved card games. There's something about the back and forth, the tension, the reads. The whole aspect of card games is just beautiful. But lately, I've been noticing the gap between where I am and where I want to be. And I'm starting to notice a real disparity between the best players at my locals and me. The way they think, the way they play, the way they execute what their deck is supposed to do is just on another level. It started eating at me. Matches that should have been close, they just weren't. I started questioning if I was even improving, and when I win, was it an actual win or was it a fluke? These constant thoughts are always plaguing my mind and making me think that I'm not good enough when it comes to playing this game. Now that I've finished university, I have a lot more time to be able to put into this game. How do I make that time worth it? How do I make every single moment count, every single game count? I think I finally figured out a solution. This is a story about growth. This is a series where I try and become the best version of myself as a One Piece TCG player in hopes of reaching the summit. Hello everybody, my name is Shirayuki and welcome back to the third episode of our attempt to reaching the summit. We are on a glorious path. Apologies for no video last week. From the recordings I did last week, I wasn't very happy with the recordings. I didn't really want to upload them, especially with the mess of the Tuesday's tournament, as we did a different tournament type. Didn't go the best, so I didn't really want to upload them videos. But today we are going to be carrying on with this series. I will say some secret information about that tournament. One thing we figured out is that Red Green Smoker is not going to be working for the time being. I think one thing that me and Adam kind of realized in the end was that Red Green Smoker very much won because everyone else was playing memes, and because of that, people started transitioning back to Green Purple, Blue Purple, Betty, Buggy, all of these like kind of meta decks. And we kind of realized that we could not keep up. So we are going to be playing something new this week. But before we get into finding out what we are playing this week, if you have not done so yet, please remember to like, comment, subscribe, turn the notification bell on so you guys can know when a new video comes out and to feed the algorithm. God's life, just a quick life update. We are now on track of getting into a rhythm. We have been doing an actually really good job of getting into a rhythm now, which feels incredible. So tomorrow there will be time of recording is currently Monday. Tomorrow, Tuesday, there will be a roguelike stream again. We finally got back on the streaming grind, so if you want to see some of my roguelike content, you can go to my Twitch, which will be in the link in the description in my link tree. And we're finally starting to get back on track with stuff, and it feels good. It feels good. It feels like I have consistency with everything I am doing right now, bar one thing that I'm currently sorting out. But it's time to get into the video. Now, once again, like the other two videos, we have Tuesday and Thursday's tournaments, and I've got really good footage from Tuesday and Thursday this week, which is going to be very nice. And we're trying to figure out a deck we want to play there. And the reason we're at this spot again is because I'm going to be real, kind of just want OPO 12 to come out. There's not really anything interesting in this format that is good enough to contend with some of the meta decks that I was very interested in. So we're just trying to find a deck and build. We have a couple options. We have Purple Luffy, like Mono Purple Luffy, that I actually considered playing at some point. I do have a lot of the stuff, but because of the ban list coming out in 6 days of time of recording, no, 4 days of time recording, sorry, I didn't really want to play mainly purple decks, so that was kind of off the table. There was a lot, we tried building Arlong, and Arlong just did not go well. It was a mess of a 3 a.m. building session, and so I needed something that I knew how to play and I liked. Luckily for me, one of my friends gave me a suggestion of playing Lim. Now, for context, I have not played Lim since OPO 10. I didn't get the chance to really play much of Lim in OPO 10 because of university, and by the time I got to start playing Lim, I had to actually go back to uni. So in today's video, we are actually playing Lim, and it's definitely a weird deck in this meta. I think it's actually all right. Like, a lot of people kind of underrate, give Lim a lot of no good look at it to realize that Lim is just basically green Bello Betty in a sense, except because it has just really good board spam, really good damage, and just overall can do a lot quite fast. And especially since some decks like Blackbeard, like Blue Purple Luffy kind of need some form of setup a little bit, the deck can feel good. Granted, there are some very big issues with the deck. That being into green purple, it just does not do well. Into aggro is kind of a 50-50 kind of sense. So we definitely have a 50-50 we're going to kind of be working with this week. Hopefully we can pick up a couple wins with it. Maybe a tournament win would be nice, but that is what we're going to be working with today. And here is the deck profile for the tournament we played on Tuesday. So getting into the deck profile, we are going to be talking about the leader first. So for anyone who doesn't know what Lim does, it is a green-purple leader. It's 4 life. It has the additional rules text of all your characters will be coming in rested, which may seem really bad because then how are you meant to keep them alive? But let me get into the deck profile because you'll notice that a lot of the Odyssey cards can actually untap themselves when from certain effects. And then Lim's other effect is active main. Once per turn, I can rest free Don. I can ramp a Don rested and then play any Odyssey character that is 5 or less. So that is kind of where the board spreading thing comes from, is the fact that we can go wide very quickly on like turn 1. If we have 3 Don, we get a 5 cost, and then turn 2 we could play another one. And then if we have a Limb Searcher, which is a 3 cost, we get 3 bodies basically on turn 3 with good stats and with really good stats around the 6 to 5k stats, 6 to 7k stats, depending on what character we choose to play. And here is the Lim deck profile. I'm not going to be going in detail about every single card in this deck profile, but if we do well with Lim at any point during this series, I will do a deck profile for you guys to see what choices I made, going into a bit more detail about every single card and some choices that I chose not to play in the deck and some choices to play in the deck. For all that being said, here is the Lim deck profile.
Round 1, fight!
Even though he has a different map today, we are actually playing against someone you know on this channel very much. Of course, it's round 1 once again. It's Rob. Yeah, we have Rob today, round 1. It's just become a tradition now that I just keep getting paired into Rob, which is a good and a bad thing. You know, he's a good player, so like, it's a bad thing in the sense that I have to try and beat him in round 1. It's a good thing because it's just good practice. He is playing Yamato today. I don't know what happened at this tournament, but like, everyone just decided to play aggro. Like, there was about like 3 Yamatos and 2 Belovetti players at this tournament, and I'm playing Lim. And I have no clue how the aggro matchup goes. It really does feel like a 50-50. And this was a good set. You know, we had some good moments during the game. I think I played pretty well throughout the thing. I didn't know what much of the new Yamato support did, but it was very nice to see. But we're going to just talk about one moment right here. So in my hand, I'm pretty sure I do have a Mihawk at this point, and I'm going to do a Mihawk Doflamingo combo that I was talking about earlier. Because it's just really good pressure on the life, it's going to do a lot. So we're going to attach 3 Don onto the Doflamingo, because we know for a fact that we can use the Limbs effect to play the Mihawk for free. We swing for 9 into leader. Now this is going to get 2 2Ks out of Rob's hand, which is already quite small as it is. Always going to take a life. And Rob takes the life, and it's an O-Nami. I cannot express how upset I was from seeing that O-Nami, because I was looking at my hand. I had nothing else to work with. Rob's board was just a lot better. I swing for 8 into Kinemon. I want to try and get rid of his board as much as possible, but he had the 2Ks in his hand, and this is kind of where the match kind of went downhill. For the rest of the game, we just really couldn't develop a board, and it kind of sucked. You know, I was a bit annoyed from that game, you know, because of the fact that, like, I lost my game to a trigger in life, but that's just how One Piece goes sometimes. It was a really good match overall, and Rob played well. It was just very unfortunate with that the case, and you saw the fact that there is a lack of attrition with the deck. But 0-1 game 1, but can't really do much about it. We just got to go into game 2 and hope for the best for the rest of the games.
Round 2, fight!
going into game 2, we were up against Shirahoshi. Now, if people who know me will know that I love leaders that can't attack. Iceberg is my favorite leader of all time since I've been playing One Piece. I love Iceberg. I'm very happy that Roger is coming out because it means I can play Iceberg, which I'm very excited to play. But Shirahoshi, I've never played against Shirahoshi. I know the deck does take a while to set up, and that's just good enough for me to be incredibly aggressive. And just throughout this game, like, the issue the Shirahoshi deck had, it just never got to attack my leader because the fact that leader has the effect of it can't attack. And this was kind of a rough game for Shirahoshi right here. It never really felt like they stood a chance, to be honest with you. Like, we didn't even take a life in the end. They were so busy on trying to clear my board that they never got to swing into my life. And that's why I could play a bit more recklessly. And I ended up getting the win. There wasn't really much to talk about with this deck. You know, we were just doing Mihawk combos, and it was just very unfortunate that the Shirahoshi couldn't really get their foot in the door. But that's just how it goes sometimes with the no attack leaders. It is really unfortunate, but, you know, with Roger coming out, Iceberg may stand a chance because it can attack because Roger negates the leader's effect. But we're now 1-1, and we're getting back on the road. Hopefully we can maybe go positive in the end, but let's see how it goes.
Round 3.
Game 3, we are against fellow Betty. So going into this match, I thought like this was going to be a horrible matchup because of how much more aggressive Betty is than my deck. I genuinely thought this was going to be terrible, right? And I couldn't be further from the truth. It just turns out that when I could just clear the board constantly and have ways of killing stuff, it does feel pretty good. And right here, one thing I just want to show is I talked about earlier with the Sakasuki, and I'm pretty sure this is where Sakasuki does come up, because at this point, we don't want Karasu staying on the board. That is just an obvious, and we can see that we're getting ready to pay the 6-star to play a Sakasuki, but we are going to just swing for 1 with Lim. The reason we swing with 0 with Lim is because we need the rest of the characters to activate the effect of Sakasuki. Granted, one thing we could have just done is still just swing with Rosinante, because at the end of the day, the Rosinante will just untap itself. You know, to be fair, that is kind of a misplay on my end, because Rosinante will just untap itself anyway. So that was kind of a misplay. And then we pay 6. We bring down Sakasuki after a little bit of deliberation about stuff. Bring down Sakasuki, KOing Karasu. And that is just perfect for us, you know. It just feels really good, and then with Limb Effect we get to untap, and that just felt really good, you know. Being able to just do that is just incredible, and the Karasu just never got to stay on the board, unfortunately. And this was kind of like, we kind of played the Bello Betty strategy of just swinging into their characters until we had nothing left in hand before going for game, and we managed to get the win. And yeah, Betty's a bit of a weird one because it's strong, don't get me wrong, but it has such like an obvious weakness. It's just a bit like, how, I don't get how it is very strong, but we managed to get the win. Managed to get the win, and I'm a 2-1 up. Going into the last round, I feel good with the deck. I think there was still a bit of an uneasiness to the deck, but with all that being said, 2-1 up. Let's see if we can go 3-1.
Final round. Fight!
Last round, we were against Kenmare, who was once again on Yamato, and as I was made it very clear, there is a lot of Yamato. And I don't know what happened in this game, but for some reason I just decided to go to Vegas, because for some reason I opened up a full house. My hand just decided to go, yeah, here is 3 copies of 1-cost Lim and 2 copies of, I believe it was Edward Newgate. So I'm sitting here looking at my hand going, my hand is unplayable. I can't do anything with this hand. What am I supposed to do? And Kenmare just kept attacking me, and it wasn't Nuke, it was Mihawk, and Kenmare just kept attacking me, and I'm just sitting here like, I can't do anything. I can't do anything. I literally can't do anything. I don't know what you want me to do. So he's just swinging, I'm just here like, I literally just can't do anything about this. And we're trying to clear as much as possible and get as much defense as possible, but we actually just can't protect this board, and we just lose. And even Kenmare was like, well, what just happened here? And the deck just bricked, and it was just really unfortunate. It's the last game of the day just to be bricked like that in the final game of the match. But I'm not going too neutral, but I didn't feel great about the deck. I felt like there were changes that needed to be made. Going into Thursday, hopefully we made them changes and we could be going better during Thursday's tournament. So the night of Thursday, we decided to change some stuff up. Once again, we were doing some testing with Adam, Rob, and we decided to make some changes that we didn't like about the deck. I felt like there was something wrong with it, right? And I didn't feel good about it. We decided to make the changes. And one shocking change that we made is we took out the 6-cost Sakasuki. The reason behind it is there were times where we would draw it, and I'm like, cool, this doesn't help me in any sort of way whatsoever. And my logic with taking out the 6-cost Sakasuki is, why do we need to KO something if we're just refing it, where we are just going to be swinging that face? Because at the end of the deck, we're not a deck that's meant to be trying to control the board. We are a deck that's meant to be trying to kill the opponent as fast as possible. So in my head, I was like, how about we try and take out the 6-cost Sakasuki and put some more cards that benefit just resting characters and just getting stronger pushes onto the game. So the cards that we have taken out, we have taken out Sakasuki. We took out 1 copy of Edward Newgate. We also took out all of the tech cards, and we've taken out the 4-cost the Sanji. And now what have we replaced them with? So the replacement options were very kind of easy, but at the same time a little bit difficult, because we actually started realizing we had a lot more options to work with than we expected. But here are the changes that we made. Starting off with the Film Sanji, like we said, the Film Sanji wasn't good enough and we needed to change it. So we played 2 copies of Green Ezo, 3-cost 3k, rest of 4k when it comes into play, the 2k counter. Now the reason we played 2 copies of this is because we don't own 4 copies of the next card, being 2 copies of Uso Hachi. There's a 3-cost 3k, same as Ezo, 2k counter, but if you have 8 or more done, you rest of 5 or less. This card is bonkers, probably one of the best 2k counters that Purple's ever seen. I don't have 4 copies of it because I would be playing 4 copies of Uso Hachi if I had them. Overall, very strong card, and these 2k counters are going to be able to rest blockers, which is going to make it easier for us to kill them a lot faster. We've actually bumped up our ratio now of Don Quixote Rosinante to 4, because I feel like one thing the deck needs is more blockers and more ways of defending the board today, and only having 6 variants of doing that makes it very difficult, because the 5-cost Rosinante was nice and all, but there were times where I would want to keep it alive because it'd be very nice. So being able to have kind of more of like a chump blocker-esque character just makes it a lot easier for us to be able to work with, you know what I'm saying? And then we played 4 copies of Gum Gum Dragonfire Pistol Twister Star. And now you might be wondering, what is that? What have you just said to me, Shura? Well, one thing we kind of realized is only having 4 searches in the deck is kind of bad, and we don't really want to play We Are because we can't really add everything in the deck. There are some cards that we want to add that we can't add off of We Are, and that's where Gum Gum Dragonfire Pistol Twister Star comes in. 3-cost event, we play 4 copies of it. If I needed an Odyssey, top 5 for 2 Odyssey type characters and put them into the hand and rest on the bottom. Then its trigger is rest A5 or less. Pretty good. I'm not gonna lie, especially for an Odyssey deck, it is pretty good. You know, you can find your pieces, especially if you don't have anything to do on turn 2, if you're free Don. It is pretty nice. One thing I like doing with this card is I like doing it on turns where I have 6 Don instead. If I'm going first, I'll always get the 6 Don, and if I go second, I'll be on 7 Don, I believe. On that kind of turn, I like doing it more because on the first Don, if I do have an option and I have the event in my hand, I'd rather play the option out to get a board presence started. Whilst on the next turn, instead of just going a big swing, if we don't have the Mihawk, we can then pay 3, use the Gum Gum Dragonfire Pistol Twister Star, and then just use the rest of the Don on the attacker. So it's a way of building up our resources earlier on in the game. It does slow our momentum down a little bit, but gives us more to work with. And then finally, the newest addition to the deck, 3 copies of Monkey D. Luffy. It is the Odyssey Monkey D. Luffy, 5-cost 6k, 1k counter. If I have 2 more rested, I rest in a character that is 6 or less. 6 is such a good number. Mihawk, the blue Mihawk gets rested from this. Sanjay Pudding once again. It is just there to rest blockers, but this is so good, especially since we can play for free Dawn off the leader's effect. and it just feels like such a nice addition, and I'm so annoyed I didn't think about it. And when we were doing testing, we just found out the deck just felt so much better. So going into Thursday, it felt pretty good. Hopefully we can end Thursday with a better result than 2-2.
Round 2. Fight.
So getting into the first, well, technically the second match of Thursday, because first round we got a bye, which is a bit unfortunate, which means we will have 2 matches from Thursday, but 2 really good matches. We were up against, you see the map, you see the leader, you see the sleeves, you see the Don, you know who it is. Once again, we got Rob in round number 2. Rob's playing Yamato again, and we're back to this matchup, and I said, I'm going to play it right here, I said this really stupid phrase at the beginning of the game.
Game on!
Okay, let's not.
Guys, the second to last card in Rob's life is an O-Nami.
Sorry?
There's an O-Nami right here. Throughout this whole game, we were playing like pretty good. I think we were playing pretty good gameplay, and I was feeling pretty good again in this match once again. And there was a lot of stuff going on. It felt pretty good. And we were doing well. Like, it was a lot better than last time, but that second to last life was always scaring me because of the fact that if there is an O-Nami there, I was gonna probably crash out. And lo and behold, yeah, I swing with 7. And lo and behold, I go swing with 7 into leader. He takes it.
Actually didn't do too bad.
I'm gonna look. I'm gonna do it.
It is!
It's O-Nami!
God damn it!
Wow!
I'm gonna kill this guy.
We actually got what we want.
It's the best card in the set!
What is this game?
You willed it into
This game
play!
sucks so much!
You willed it into existence!
And it's an O-Nami, and I crash out. And we're both sitting there laughing. And at this point, I kind of thought the game was over. I think the O-Nami kind of get into my head. Yellow is my least favorite color for context. I hate playing against yellow. So I was a bit annoyed. And the real big blunder is I actually could have won this game. When he swung right here, he swings 9 with leader. As banished, I have 10k counter in my hand. I could have blocked this 9k swing. I could have stayed alive. I'd actually win this game. Instead, what I do is I let O-Nami and her KOing of 5 costs or less take over, and my brain goes, and I just took it, and it turns out I could have won this game, which is really unfortunate. But we do lose this game. It was just on a mishap and just not thinking about my plays. I'm just accepting the fact I lost because of the same kind of outcome happening again, which is just something I'm going to improve on for next time if it does happen again, because knowing yellow players probably will just happen again. And we do lose this, a game we should have won, and that's just a misplay on my end. And we even talk about the end of the game that we realised that I could have won, and it's a bit annoying, but what can you do?
Round 3.
And you see the mat again, but don't be worried, it isn't Rob again. We didn't get Rob again. It is actually Lewis. You know, Lewis, you saw him in episode... I think it was episode 1 of the series. I could be wrong, maybe 2. Episode 2 of the series, they were playing red, yellow Sabo, and they're on the Blackbeard today. And very interestingly enough, going into this matchup, Lewis thought he had a good matchup into Lim. And I'm sitting here kind of thinking, he does realise that I'm just playing Bello Betty, right? Just green-purple, right? And he kind of found out that sadly the hard way in this match. He kind of, bricked. He didn't really have much going on. He just couldn't KO any of my characters, unfortunately. And we kind of just had a strong performance against Blackbeard, you know. The deck just played what it was meant to do, and it just felt really good, you know. We were doing stuff. We got to actually utilize the Luffy during this game, which felt very nice. And yeah, I think during this game, I think Lewis just kind of realized that this is not a great matchup for Blackbeard, you know. We just swarm out a board fast enough, and they didn't even get to 10 Dom, which was really unfortunate. And we kind of just managed to take over this game and do what Lim does best, which is absolute just steamroll. And we add the Mihawk. We were adding Mihawks. You know, we were untapping, doing as much swings as possible for optimal numbers, and getting the game and going 2-1 in the end. Better result. Technically, I don't know how I feel about buys. Buys are kind of an iffy with me. But it's still technically 2-1 in the Bandai results, so we've got to take it. But overall, just an incredibly good result. And my overall opinions on Lim is that Lim's fun. Don't get me wrong. Lim is a joy to play. I was having a blast The tournaments were fun, even though that we had some incredibly awful moments happen to us. It overall was just a very fun deck. But the question is will I play Lim next week? I'm not 100% sure. I am very 50-50 on it. I might just end up playing Lim if I can't think of another deck to play. But overall, very fun deck, and it's a very enjoyable one if you just need to have a deck for deck filler whilst you're waiting for set 12 to come out. And with only like a couple weeks, 4 weeks left before set 12 comes out, feels pretty good nonetheless. But overall, I've been having a blast with this series. I hope you guys have been having a blast. Please let me know in the comment section down below if you want to see anything improved on the series. I will try my best to do it to the best of my ability. And we are going to be coming to the end of today's video. I thank you guys so much for watching. Next week's episode is going to obviously be great again, just like last week. And if you haven't done so, remember to like, comment, and subscribe. And with all of that being said, my name is Shiryuki, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Goodbye, goodbye, goodbye.